Cedar Point, located on the beautiful shores of Lake Erie in Sandusky, Ohio. This is Clay with the Pennsylvania Roller Coaster Club, and we're going to take a look at the roller coasters of Cedar Point and go on a little journey and take you worst to first. Now, as we do before we start counting credits, let's take a look at the park itself and a little bit of the history that got us here. Now, Cedar Point, as I had said previously, located on the shores of Lake Erie, is the second oldest amusement park in the United States, opening all the way back in 1882. Although it's believed that not until 1897 would they actually open in the current area for operations as a park. So, in terms of industry standards, really, many of them are set and have historically been set by Cedar Point. Widely called the roller coaster capital of the world, or the roller coast, Cedar Point really does set the bar high in terms of roller coasters at a park and overall hegemony within a lineup. So it's no big surprise that when they made the announcement that Top Thrill 2 would be regracing the skyline here at Cedar Point and, well, reimagining the skyline.
Intamin's back,
But
baby.
what took everyone a little bit off guard is who was going to end up doing work. Now, a lot of people had speculated that Intamin was going to be brought back into the fray within Cedar Fair and within Cedar Point, even though their relationship had been quite rocky over this last decade.
Logical.
And to people's amazement, it was not Intamin, but in fact Zamperla.
Wait, who?
Of the flat ride ilk and small family ride and family coaster ilk. Yes, that Zamperla.
Guess they'll let anybody build a roller coaster these days.
But let's talk about the rides that were actually here the previous season for us to be able to rate. Number 16, Wilderness Run. Now, Wilderness Run is just a kiddie coaster, that is true, and typically I would just be giving you some bogus stock answer about how it doesn't fit the demographic and yada yada yada. But this one is a little bit different in the sense that this was a kiddie coaster made by Intamin. Not just made by Intamin, but Intamin's first roller coaster made, period. So, some historical value here. These guys obviously would go on to build a few just a little bit bigger than this one. Heck, they may have a few bigger ones in this park. Moving on. Number 15, Woodstock Express. Now, if you're a child and you would like the full-fledged experience of what it feels like to ride an uncomfortable and janky and, did I mention, uncomfortable turn of the 80s Vekoma mine train, well, you're in luck. Cedar Point wanted to be able to share that experience with you, hence this 1999 installation, Woodstock Express. Not too much to do here, but it is a pretty good way to prepare children for the inevitable discomfort and displeasure that will surely greet them whenever they ride Cedar Creek Mine Ride. But hey, has a place in the lineup. Moving on, number 15. Yeah, here it is. Cedar Creek Mine Ride. Now, although not built by Vekoma, this was built by Arrow, which, you know, during these years, for all intents and purposes, these were very, very similarly manufactured mine trains because they used, basically Arrow's design and Arrow's parts and what have you. So, yeah, this is going to give you a very similar feel to what one of those older Vekoma mine trains would, and I guess that is to tie into my joke about how awful all of these rides really are. They bring nothing but pain and misery. And if it weren't for the other two being kids coasters, this probably would have rated below it. if there were ever a ride that needed to be eliminated from a park's lineup, this would be on that list. And from this park in particular, at this stage of the game, it wouldn't even be alone. Taking us to our next,
Number 13.
Iron Dragon. Now, Iron Dragon. My daughter and I, we have a variety of names for this ride, and not once in the last 2 years have we called it Iron Dragon. Typically, it's Stinky Dragon, Crappy Dragon, Really Bad Dragon, insert anything else but iron, and that's what we call it. Not a good ride, guys. Not a good ride. I love the model, have loved the model. The Bat at Kings Island, that 1993 installation, phenomenal. Allie and I both adore it. This one, not so much. It does a whole bunch of nothing. It's like a hodgepodge of nothingness, which is amazing considering that it might be able to stake claim to the worst fun to lift hill ratio in the industry. Number 12, Blue Streak. Blue Streak used to be one of my favorite rides at Cedar Point. And I do hedge that statement with used to be. Guys, the beginning of the season, I took a ride on this and it hurt so bad. I didn't even want to put myself through it again for the rest of the day, so on my second visit, I went and I gave it another shot, thinking that, well, maybe it was just on me. And no, it was on Blue Streak. And then rides 3 through 15 of the season were all just as bad, pretty much at every row, in pretty much every seat. Not good, Cedar Point. You're better than this. Do some retracking on Blue Streak, for goodness sakes. It deserves it. Moving on. Corkscrew. Now, Corkscrew is, I don't know. Some years I think that it's undervalued. Some years I think that it is a medieval torture device that perhaps could have won the war on terror years earlier had we just shipped people directly to the Cedar Point Midway for interrogation. This year, I'm kind of in between. I don't consider it to be a torture device, nor do I consider it to be good. But it is still historic, and for that reason alone, it gets this position. Moving on. Number 10, Wild Mouse. Now, I mean, yeah. Guys, this is the reality that we're at, that a Zamperlo spinning Wild Mouse has somehow found its way this high on this list. I mean, there is no reason for a Wild Mouse to be this high on a list at Cedar Point. In any other decade, this would be a throw-in ride, but unfortunately, because some of the older end of the spectrum has got so rough, here we are.
But, hey, this is why we can't have nice things. Next up, number 9, Rugaru.
Now, I know some people hate Rugaru. Obviously, Rugaru being the B&M stand-up originally Mantis, and later in life being repainted, rethemed, and given floorless trains. I gotta be honest, I don't get all the hate for Rugaru. I think it's actually a pretty good ride, considering that it was never meant to be this. It works, and I don't find it to be particularly rough either. I think people kind of forget how to ride roller coasters that go fast and go upside down and loop. And guys, just a general piece of advice. Just lean forward a little bit. Get your ears out of harm's way. That way, if you do get a little side-to-side rattle, it's not going to ruin the rest of your day or make your ears bleed. But yeah, Rugaru, still pretty good for what it is. And, you know, this is probably a top 3, 4, or 5 ride for most other parks. Moving on.
Number 8, Gemini.
I mean, history, guys. Absolute history. I think the only other one of these that's operating in the world is out at Valley Fair, is Excalibur. If I'm mistaken, and there is another one of these experimentals by Arrow, please let me know below if you know of another one that's operating, but I think it's just these 2. Well, these 3 if you count the fact that blue and red are actually, 2 different coasters, but you catch my drift. Guys, it's still pretty good, but again, I never thought that I would be saying this, but it might be about time to start thinking retirement date for good old Gemini. You can't really replicate the way that this track was done and have it still be like the same ride. I mean, I guess you could try, but I don't know if you have skilled craftsmen that can still do it this way. It's just such a different era. But things are changing and we need to get used to it. Next up, another oldie but goodie, Raptor. Raptor, still an icon, guys. It may not be the best B&M invert in the world. I'll be honest, I don't even think it's in the top 5 B&M inverts in America. But it is still a really great ride and super intense. Still to this day, man, it is long and it is thorough. And when I say thorough, I mean thorough and kicking your butt. This thing just hauls through the layout. It is an absolute blast. The helix in these clips here probably aren't even paid full justice from the POV to the speed that you are taking these at, but still to this day, again, it's a classic, and it's still pretty darn butter smooth. Amazing. Great job on this one, Cedar Point. Moving on.
Number 6, Valry.
I mean, is there anything else to say, but it's just fun. I mean, is it exciting? I mean, for the general public, yes. Yes, it is. Comparatively speaking to a great Giga or a great Hyper, no, this really isn't that exciting, but man, these views, guys, this is not the best dive coaster in America, but so far it is by far my favorite. The views are absolutely breathtaking, and you get 2 different angles of it on 2 different drops. I love this ride. I do. I absolutely love this ride. These views are killer, and they're just never going to get old to me. But, you know what? I know that dive coasters aren't everybody's cup of tea, but while they're smooth, enjoy them while they last.
Number 5, Magnum XL 200.
I don't think it's any surprise that this ride is still in the upper half, but I think some people are going to be a little surprised and possibly even a little offended that I have it this low. It is an absolute icon. You cannot talk about Cedar Point. You can't talk about the roller coaster wars. You can't talk about any of it without Magnum XL 200. And I'll never forget the first time that my oldest brother had taken me to Cedar Point, and Magnum had been open for just a handful of years, and it just had this aura about it, and there was a mystique that was just surrounding this coaster, and then you felt those triangular ramp moonshot bunny hills, and you knew you were just on something that was built different. Moving on.
Number 4, Gatekeeper.
One of my favorite guilty pleasures in the world, guys, is a great freaking wing coaster. I know, it's very GP of me, but man, these are fun. This may not be my favorite in America, but it's definitely my second favorite. It is absolutely massive. The near misses are executed absolutely flawlessly. The scenery is absolutely picturesque, as one could imagine most of the rides at Cedar Point are. This one more so than most, though. And the way that they integrated it with the entrance is beautiful. I mean, they knocked this out of the park in every way, shape, and form. Gatekeeper, gotta love it. But it can't crack these top 3. I mean, Millennium Force, guys, is there anything else that needs to be said? This thing has won so many Golden Ticket Awards for Best Roller Coaster. I don't even know how many. I mean, honestly, I know that probably seems fictitious, that I can't not know, but I'm being dead serious. It's won so many times, I don't even know. I quit counting. I stopped even looking for a handful of years there because it was a foregone conclusion, because nothing could touch this. Millennium Force still holds up to this day. When comparing it to the other gigas in North America and the other gigas in the US, it is right up there, and it still is a contributor in my overall top 50. Don't know exactly how high, but we'll have to wait to see here in a handful of weeks, right towards New Year's. But man, intense. And this season marks the first year that I was actually stuck on the lift hill twice in one season. So yeah, Millennium Force still providing thrills. Number 2,
Steel Vengeance.
Now, I know what you're thinking. How is it possible that the ride that many people thought and considered to be the world's best roller coaster for a couple years isn't even the best in the park? And to that, I would say it's just an embarrassment of riches. And that is Cedar Point in a nutshell. An embarrassment of riches. The Steel Vengeance, guys, is the best ride in every other park in the country, but maybe a handful. And if you take it out of this lineup, the park still has a strong roller coaster lineup. It speaks to the quality not just of the park, but it speaks to the quality of this ride. There are no 2 Steel Vengeance, and nothing really that comes close to competing with it just on a sheer mass and size and on scale. But make no mistake about it, this really set the first bar. This is what took RMC to new heights. But it's still not number 1. Maverick. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. I could understand how he has Maverick number 1. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie though. Maverick and Steel Vengeance for the last 3 years have kind of teeter-tottered back and forth. One season I'll like one a little bit more than the other, and but this year marks the second consecutive year that I have agreed although Steel Vengeance is running as good as ever, Maverick is quite simply running better than ever. I was blown away by every ride that we got this year. I actually made it a point to get to Cedar Point probably 3 or 4 extra times this season than I would typically allot. But it was just running so well. And when you find world-class rides that are consistently giving world-class rides and delivering them on an otherworldly level, you take advantage of it. And guys, if you enjoy the content that we provide, it would mean the world to us if you could please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really means the world to us, and it helps us to be able to combat the YouTube algorithm and help get our content in front of more eyes. And, that is the best way to say thank you if you enjoy watching the content. So please comment below. Let me know if you agree. Is Maverick your favorite in the park? Is it Steel Vengeance? Is it Millennium Force still? I do know some people that still have Magnum as number one at Cedar Point. And, to which I think is absolute lunacy. But to each their own. There are no wrong answers when it comes time to coasters. There's only love and there's only opinions. And you know what? Maybe I need to go out and ride Magnum a couple more times. Maybe I'm the one that's wrong.
Until next time, see you out there.